was going to ask that question too.
I know, I'm like, I shouldn't even bring up Machiavellian, like...
Okay, hold on. I got a cough.
Yeah. We're what if people. It's just...
Hi, we're the Reading Queens, and we're here to blab about our favorite books, why we love them, and the book boyfriends we wish were real. Welcome back. I'm Valia. Hi. And today I'm joined by three of our awesome queens. Ladies, please say hello.
Hi, I'm Joanna.
Hi, I'm Kristin.
Hi, I'm Stacey.
Welcome back, ladies. I'm really excited you're here. And yeah, I think we should just catch up a little bit because it's been a while since you've been on the episode. So what's been going on? Well, Joanna was just here, but Kristin and Stacey.
Oh my gosh, I want to hear from Stacey.
Why me?
Kristin's not prepared.
I am. I'm overly prepared.
Oh, that's why. Okay.
You said to say something funny or something fun from our lives, and actually mine's been super stressful right now. But so I'm like, I don't know what to say. But so how about TikTok?
Oh yeah, let's talk about TikTok. I'm good with that.
I have fun things on the internet. I just posted a video about me trying on my husband's pants that went like almost viral. So that was
I did see that. That was actually pretty funny.
My husband and I are almost the same size, and so like there's this whole thing going around about men's pockets and how big they are. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna try on my husband's pants just to like prove a point, and I didn't prove the point I expected because they looked really good on me.
That's hilarious. They did actually. I did see that video, and I was like, how are they men's pants though? Because yeah. Shocked. Anyway,
I mean, obviously I'm like a little thicker in the bottom than my husband, so they fit tighter than they would on him, but.
They look good. Those pockets were nice, though, so there you go. Are men's pants, like, less expensive or more expensive than women's?
I think it depends on where you buy them. They can be.
Because I was like, if they're cheaper.
I got comments, like, yeah, in the comments, I kept being like, some people would be like, they're so much cheaper, yeah, just buy men's pants. And then other people were like, well, men's pants are more expensive. So I think it just depends.
Okay. Interesting. That was fun. I mean, that was a fun thing. Kristin, it's all you.
Oh, okay. So my turn. So one of my friends, I've known her since elementary school, probably even before, like preschool. She was like, I read this book. It's called Girl, Wash Your Face. And it was like I was reading you. And I actually hadn't read the book because everything that I'd heard about, I was like, yeah, I'm totally like already into that. And so she was like, you have to get that book and read it. And so I got it, and it's been sitting on my table forever because I was like, well, I don't know. I don't know how much I'll get out of it. But I started reading it yesterday, and I read about half of it. And it was really weird because it is like reading me on the page. It was really was surreal.
I haven't
give
read
us an
it.
example.
Well, it's just like her basically her attitude through the whole thing. It's like, if you're happy in your life, that's all you. Like, if you're unhappy, that's your problem. And so
True.
And then she's like, obviously there's a difference between depression, which you need like therapy and medication and other things for, but when it comes to happiness, you decide your happiness. And just like her, it's like this very no nonsense. I don't know if she's an ENTJ. It was like reading me on the page. And then some of the things that she has done in the past. So like, we're both really into achieving our goals and being successful. And like, I think a lot of people are like this. You love checking off your list, and that makes you feel amazing. And you get it all like checked off, and your mind can go. And your body what stops you is your body will break down. So she had a thing where she had like partial facial paralysis. Scary. And that's what happens when she pushes herself too far. And I also have my body will physically break down in a different way, but also very weird ways. Because your mind wants to keep going, but your body will actually break down. So it was just interesting. And also that she had faced a lot of rejection. A lot of people had told her no. And that's part of the reason why she was successful. And I was wondering, Valia, if you did theater when you were younger, because I did. You didn't.
No, I'm sorry.
You're a singer.
Well, I mean, I did choir for like, I think a year when I was in high school, but I do not like being in front of people. Like, I don't. I love theater. I will go to every Broadway show that I can,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't be the person that's doing it. Like, that's not a thing. Every time I sing in front of the church, I'm like, no, this is the worst
Really?
time ever. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so when I was younger, I did a lot of theater and
See, I can see
dance.
that though.
Yeah, right. So, but you get 99 no's for every yes. And it is a ton of work, and it's all this like emotional and physical rejection that you get all the time. So, growing up for like over a decade of my life, I would get no's like frequently, probably every
Okay.
other week, getting a no, no, no. And you just get used to it. So I feel like maybe that's part of why I was like, anyway, it was just really interesting reading this book. And I texted my friend at like, me, 1 a.m. in the morning.
Yes.
To be like, you were right. This book is, anyway, it's really good. And I wish that I knew her so we could sit down, because she wrote this a few years ago and I'm a couple years older than her anyway. So I was like, I want to sit down and see if she is still in the same place or if she's
Didn't she write a sequel to it? Isn't there another one that's...
I thought there was, yeah.
Maybe, probably, because if you make $3 million
Right.
on one book, why not write a follow-up?
Yeah, I'm almost positive there's at least another book after that, because she used to come on my Facebook. Like, the ads for her books would come on my Facebook all the time. I just haven't checked the books out yet because I rebel against Facebook ads sometimes, which is hilarious because
I rebel against
I live
nonfiction
by
books.
them.
But
Yeah,
you're saying if we read this book, we can get to know Kristin better.
Yeah,
it's
basically.
true. Yeah.
But I feel like I've changed a lot from this version of myself, like pretty recently. I would say in the last 3 or 4 years. I've like, and I feel like when you are growing as a human, you go through these metamorphoses, or your caterpillar moments where you turn into a different butterfly.
Mm-hmm.
Then I don't know, for that progression. And I don't know, I just feel like I'm in a different place than I was for literally 30 years of my life.
Yeah, that makes sense. I do
Yeah,
think
anyway.
we definitely go through seasons, like
Mhm.
where we just reinvent ourselves. And I know people say people can't change, but there's some truth to that, but not all of it. Like, I do
Mhm.
definitely think that people who want to grow and become better and stuff like that, they really do work on themselves to do that.
Well, I feel like if Rachel listens to this and it's post-COVID, let's launch and chat.
There you go.
You
We'll
never
reach out to
know.
Rachel.
You never
Yeah.
know.
It's true. Internet, it makes all kinds of things happen. So there's a thing. Well, Joanna, do you have anything to add to this conversation? Did you do anything exciting this week?
So I talked about how I was starting to do dictation.
Oh, yeah.
And this last week, it was amazing. I normally my word count goal for a day is like 2,500 words to 3,000, and that's
Okay.
that's been a good day lately. It's been a really hard few months. Speaking of depression, for me to hit my normal word counts.
Yeah.
So I've been doing this dictation thing, and I had 2 days where I had 4,500 words, which was just
That's awesome.
amazing. Like, I've gotten that much in the past toward the end of a book, but I did it in a lot less time too.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of prep work before and a lot of editing after, but this might be a game changer for me.
Yeah.
How do you do it though? I'm nervous to there's a lot of people in my household. Do I just talk to myself?
Go outside and take a walk.
Yeah, maybe. But then I'm talking to myself out in my neighborhood,
It's fine. They know you're author, right? There you go.
I just shut the door in my bedroom. And there's chunks of the day where it's just me and my 4-year-old, and I don't really care if she hears me. My husband can't be here though. I tried to do it the other day. I'm like, no, you gotta go to work before I can do this.
That's funny. That's really cool though. I don't know, I'm pushing dictation in everybody, even though I haven't excelled at it yet, but I think because we write so much, it's so important for us to have a different way to do it, because I already sit in front of a computer for 10 hours a day.
Exactly.
Sometimes afterwards I'm like, I need to write, but I like can't, it's like physically can't sit here. And like our hands are even like we get migraines, like stuff like that. Like I feel like it's just going to be such a game changer. So it makes me so happy to hear that like it's working for you
working
already.
for me.
Yeah. It's like awesome.
Yeah, I think I have to try it.
I think you should. I think everybody should try it and like actually try it.
I'm worried about tendinitis, to be honest.
I mean, that's a valid, yeah.
It's a little bit of a learning curve, but I think it was last Thursday. Everyone was gone. My daughter was at preschool, and I had like an hour, and I dictated not for an hour straight, but in like little tiny sprints, and I got 3,600 words in just that. And then I spent the rest of the day just editing that and expanding on it. So
yeah, I think it's
Awesome.
really cool. Yeah, for sure. I'm excited. And I'm excited because before, I don't remember if I mentioned it last podcast, but when I tried it before, I like hated it with such a passion that I was
too.
like, I am never, ever doing this again.
I hated it when you had to speak the punctuation.
Yes, definitely. But also I just don't like the sound of my voice. Like when I'm talking a story, I just don't like how it sounds. And so I'm like, I love this story, but then I said it out loud and I'm like, meh. But I feel like with this program and like the way the author, you know, in the video that we posted, maybe we should post a video so you guys can see it
That's a good
too.
idea.
Yeah, I'll post it in the links and on our website so you guys can look at it. But it's basically, it was like such a good informational like explanation for everything that it didn't intimidate me. And then the app that we use is just so easy.
Yes.
and it picks up so well. Anyway, we can talk about this forever, but this is not a writer's podcast, but we just get excited about these things. What we should talk about though, I think, is a question that I asked this week. And it is, I can't talk today, as you can tell. If you were stranded on an island and could take only one book, what book would it be? Go for it.
Well, I wanted to ask a question first, as far as, because if you can only take one book, if you're, you know, if you believe in the Bible, would we need to bring that? Would that be our like standard go-to? Our obligatory choice.
A fiction book. Let me rephrase that. If you could bring one fiction book to the island. This is just coming from us because, you know, that's what we believe. But we're just going to do general. So outside of the Bible, what is the one book you would bring to the island?
Does a series count, or it has to be one single book?
Oh, that's a good point.
I was going to ask that question.
Well, and I was wondering, would you guys bring the first book,
like a very
the first book
serious
in the
question.
series, or the last book in the series, or middle?
That's also a really good question.
The first, I feel like I would have to pick the first.
Probably
Okay.
depending on the series, because
I
there's some
guess.
series that
Right.
like I like book 3 better, or yeah.
Would you want to
That
bring
one series.
What about bringing a book you hadn't read but had really good reviews, so it would be like a surprise?
Absolutely not. I mean,
Yeah,
no,
no.
I don't trust reviews. I need my own opinion on it. This would not work for me. No. Definitely. It's funny though, because I have that one series where I love book 2 the best. So, I don't know.
And
Does
would
anybody
we be
actually
the-
have a question?
Would we be the only ones on the island? Like, could we swap books?
Swap books.
I know, right?
You bring this one.
Right.
Yeah. I think, was it Allison that talked about how she went on that trip where she had, like, they each had to bring one book and she
Yeah.
read hers before they even got to the trip. So she had to, like, wait and then somebody gave her her book. That's a good point,
hilarious.
too.
Yeah, we're talking about second books. I think the only series that I would for sure pick the second book is A Court of Thorn and Roses. There's no way I'd pick the
Oh,
second
yeah. I'm pretty sure that's everybody, except for, like, 5 people I know.
Yeah.
Or have heard of.
So
Yeah.
do you like that? I'm like, I can't think of a book, but I can think of 50 questions first. This is
Let's
so
narrow down.
important.
Yeah.
It's a very serious question.
I think it is. It's a very serious question.
It's hard.
I had 2 different answers depending on the answers to that
Yeah,
question.
so Valia, since you're in charge, you tell us, like, what are the rules? Like, can we swap? Can we bring a series?
It has to fit in one binding.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with one book. It can be any book in the series, and you can't swap.
Ooh.
because you're
Harsh.
deserted by yourself.
Harsh.
we can do the other options after we answer this option.
Okay, me first.
Yes, go for it.
Okay. Well, okay. The reason why I had two answers is because how long am I on this island? If I'm there forever, then my answer is either
Vampire
Throne of
Academies.
Glass or the Selection. No. Either Throne of Glass
she's like,
or
no.
Selection. I love Vampire Academy.
Yeah.
So which book in the Throne of Glass? The Throne
Well,
of Glass.
I've only
number one?
read the first two, so the first one.
Interesting. Okay.
But
what about the
if
Selection?
if I'm which book out of the Selection?
Yeah.
I don't even remember what happens in book 2.
I remember
I
not
don't
liking
know.
it.
Three.
I
I
remember
love all
not
three
liking
of
book
those.
2.
I would either
Right.
take book 1 or book 3. of the
Yeah,
Selection.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Sounds good.
if I'm going to be there for like 6 months or something, then I would take Brandon Sanderson, the second one in his, what's it called? The War of Radiance?
Oh.
Words.
Yeah.
Words of Radiance?
Mhm.
I've read so I read The Way of Kings, and it took me a really long time to read
I was
it
like,
'cause
that
it's
book can
so
really last
long.
you.
And I loved it, and I've had the second one like since it came out, but I haven't read it yet because I think I'm intimidated by it, even though I
Yeah.
read the first
It's
one.
so big. Yeah.
It's so big. So if I knew I was going to be there for like 6 months, I'd bring Brandon Sanderson.
That's actually really smart to like think of it like that. You're like, what book will last me the longest?
Yes. But if I'm there forever, I've got to bring one of my favorites.
Right.
But I wanted to tell you a story about when I met Brandon Sanderson.
Oh, yeah.
I was
Tell
talking
us.
to Rose about this a few weeks ago, and I told her I'd bring it up on the podcast. So it was years and years ago. I went to my very first writers conference called
Okay.
LTUE, and I met this girl who was like my very first writer friend,
Aw.
and she was telling me all about this amazing author Brandon Sanderson, who I'd never heard of because I've never really been into reading epic fantasy. Like I tell everyone now that I read Brandon Sanderson and I read Kristin Dawson
Yep.
for epic fantasy. So I'd never heard of him, and she's just raving about him. And there was someone there that was even like cosplaying as someone from his books. And we had like a break, and we went into the bookstore to just kind of browse. And he walked in, and she was all like fangirling because this was Brandon
Right.
Sanderson who just walked
Yeah.
in, and he didn't have like a bunch of people around him. It was just like he just walked in, and he walked over to this table, and he came in to just like check out what books they had of his that were available. He was just curious like what was available. And so she was like chatting with him, and she was like telling me, she's like, she's never read any of your books. And so I bought Way of Kings right then and had him sign it. And in it, he wrote, I hope you like it, but if you don't, blame Amy. 'Cause she recommended it. But what was so funny is that this kid came in. He was young, like maybe 10 or 12.
Okay.
And he was like like looking at the same table as we were, and like as Brandon was looking at his books. And the kid like points at Brandon's books, and he's like, are these books any good? Like he asked that to Brandon Sanderson.
That's awesome.
He's like, you might like them. Anyway,
Maybe.
That's so funny.
that's my story about meeting Brandon Sanderson.
I love
That's
it.
It reminds me of the meme. There's like a meme about a kid who's like, "Are there any dragons in it in the bookstore?" And just like the bookstore lady's like, "No, it's a romance. Like it's about two people falling in love." Why would anyone read this? And it was just like the whole thing of like everything's better with dragons.
Yeah,
So
that's funny.
what it reminded me of.
So I actually met Brendan Sanderson too at BEA a couple of years ago, and he probably thought I was the craziest person ever because, okay, you guys know that I like love photography and I used to do it and stuff like that, right? So I like have very specific ideas about pictures, which is just like my personality coming out sometimes in weird ways. But anyway, so I was in line. It was right before I think Skyward came out, and he was only there to sign like the first 3 chapters or something because they weren't doing arcs or anything like that. And so we were standing in line, and I was staying by myself because my friends like all went to different places. But I was like, dude, I I am going to meet this man. Like, I want to meet him, right? And so I come up to him and I was just like, he's like, hey, you know, like, how's it going? I was like, good. Like, I'm excited to be here, all this stuff. And so I talked, you know, we talked a little bit about writing. He was so sweet, like, so nice. And he like talked about, I don't know, it was just like really cool. I don't remember half of what he said, but I remember writing it down. So I probably like should have pulled it up or something to use on a podcast one of these days. But it was really funny because then he was like, do you want a picture? And I was like, yes, I do. Thank you. And so this girl was like, who was there, was like helping. So she went to take a picture and he was like, what do you think? And I was like, I don't like it. We're going to have to do another one. So I made him take like 3 pictures until I was satisfied. The people behind me were like, seriously? And he's like, no, this is important to her. And I was like, I'm going to go now. Thanks.
It was very weird. You need to post those pictures.
But you got the best picture ever.
I mean, I thought it was funny because we looked like we were conspiring, so it's great.
Well, and I just have to add that I have read lots of his now. I've read the first 3 Mistborn, and he is a fantastic author.
Yes.
So we're not blaming Amy.
I like how Joanna's like, I just want everyone to know.
I didn't know who he was then, and now I definitely do.
Yes.
I've met him a
Awesome.
couple of times, and I do think he's super nice. My sister
Yes.
was with me one time, the very first time that I like drove a long distance to go see him, and I made my sister come and my mom come and my friend come. So it wasn't just me. And I was super like weirdly nervous. And my sister, when we met him, she just looked at me like, you are so weird. I don't know why you were so nervous to meet that guy. And I'm like, well, it's Brandon Sanderson, but she's not a huge reader like I am. So she just thought I was being so ridiculous. But, it was my fangirl moment.
Yeah, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love people who are not like readers or not, intense readers that can like recognize author names when they're around you and you are just fangirling like crazy. They're just kind of like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, nothing, okay?
Just leave me alone.
Yeah, just let me have my moment, okay? I don't know. There was a couple authors who I was just kind of like starstruck, like Kathy Rakes, I think you say her name, Rakes. She wrote Bones, and she was at one of the BEA, and I got to meet her and like talk to her for a minute. And I think my favorite like moment that I had was with R.L. Stein. It was really funny because he was one of the first people to ever like congratulate me on my first published book on Twitter. Like, it was like a thing that I saved, and it was like the coolest thing. So when I met him like years later at BEA, it was really funny. I come up to him and we start talking, and he's just like, yeah, your name, like, it sounds like, and I'm like, yeah, it's Russia. And he's like, yeah, you know what? My grandparents were from Russia. And then he's just talking, and his publicist is like trying to get me to come over to take a picture. And so as we're taking a picture, he's still telling me the story about his grandparents and the whole time. And so the lady's like, okay, like, she's gotta go. Cause there's like a huge line. Obviously it's R.L. Stein. There's going to be a huge line. He's just still talking. He was just like, it's really cool. It's like about Ukraine and about all this stuff. And I was just like, this is awesome. Like, I love when authors are just so normal, like people, I don't know. It's like a weird thing, but when you come up to them and they're not just like, oh, here, I'm going to sign your book and kind of smile for a picture. No, like, they want to tell you about their childhood grandparents' story or something, It was really cool. I don't know.
Yeah, he sounds cool.
That was a tangent.
There's some authors that are just like so charismatic that it's just amazing to meet them in person.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm not like that. I'm just like, thanks.
I met Jennifer Armentrout at BEA or I don't know, BookCon.
Okay.
And she was like that. She's just like, you feel like she's your best friend for those 30 seconds. Yeah. And I was like, I wish that I could be like that, but I will never be like I'd be like, hi, you might love me, and I'm still gonna be like, hi.
Yeah.
So
it's and it's funny though, because authors are just such like introverted creatures that it's really interesting to meet those authors who are just kind of like can just handle the whole room, and I'm like, good. I mean, you do you. That's not me. Anyway, that was a side note. Stacey, do you have a book? Wait, did you say a book?
No. I still have not chosen. You gave me this question days ago. Still have not picked a book. So my assumption going into it was that like this is the only book I'm ever going to be able to read for the rest of my life.
Okay.
and I don't reread a whole lot.
Right?
And like,
Yes.
my imagination just goes a whole. So it's tough. I can't pick, like, it's not a favorite book. It's like, logically, which book would I want to reread 1,000 times? I thought like maybe Lord of the Rings, especially if I could get like the big one,
Like a
where,
bind up.
Yeah, I have one. Like,
Yeah,
on my shelf,
yeah.
I could grab it. That has The Hobbit and all three. I'd probably do that.
Yeah, there you go.
But I also thought of, also have a book on my shelf that's all the Edgar Allan Poe short stories, and I feel like that would probably be like the best for me, because I could like jump around and
like a complete work.
An anthology
Right,
of short stories.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like we
I
need
was
to
like,
have a short
Kristin.
story
right.
guide conversation. No, I think that's a good idea, because it's obviously, but if we can only do one story, but if you could do an anthology, now you're giving me a new idea here, Stacey, because it's different, completely different stories. And I actually think I would get an anthology that I hadn't read in advance, because you really don't know what's going to happen. And you get
I guess that's a little different too, because if it's different stories, like if you didn't like one or two, like you'd still have others to go back to.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Valia, you
I don't know about that.
sound dubious.
I'm like, yeah, probably still not. I have to trust myself that I know like what I'm gonna read, instead of just, I don't know. I've read some anthologies that I didn't like one book in it.
Oh dear.
So
Well, did you say what book you would bring? You haven't said.
no, because I was kind of like hoping you guys give me more parameters on it too.
Oh gosh.
Which was great. No, if I had to do like an anthology or something, I would, okay, you know what? I do think that I would bring, there's a book that I reread like religiously when I first came to America. It is a bind up of 4 Jules Verne stories, and they're like the lesser known ones, because I think 2 of them were finished by his son actually, and they don't actually have them translated into English. So I haven't been able to reread them in English, but I've read that book so much that it's like literally falling apart. And I would think that I probably would bring that, just because like that was a comfort read for the longest time. But other than that, I feel like I would want like the hockey romances that I reread. Just for, because you're like stranding on an island, you need something nice to feel. Have good feelings come from a book. I wouldn't bring something that's going to make me sad, that's for sure.
Okay, I have another question.
I feel like I have my imagination. I could like run through most of those stories that I wanted and make them up. So like as a writer, I feel like I don't have a problem with just daydreaming stories like that. So I'd want something that like is a change of pace that I wouldn't usually come up with.
Okay, my question's
That makes
along those
sense.
lines. So on our island, Valia, do we get like a journal and a
Ooh.
pencil, or like, or writing utensil?
100%. There's got to be a way to get that on an island. Probably more important than the book to read, I would think, for us. I would say yes.
So wait.
We could find a way to write. There's like caves and
That's
stuff.
true.
They're cave drawings.
We're just creating this whole society and individual islands. It's fine. Kristin, what are you thinking over there? If you guys could see her face right now, she's like contemplating, I don't know, some plans over there.
No, I was thinking, okay, so if this was one of my other questions that I had as I was thinking through this, I was like, if I could have, write my own stories, then I would want, create my own stories. For me, I get a lot of ideas from nonfiction. So I might, in that case, bring like a history book, and then that's, information dense, and then come up with my ideas from that, and then write.
Okay, so off of that, what's a nonfiction book you would bring? That's not the Bible.
That would be a good one, actually.
Greek mythology would be interesting.
Did you say? That's what I was gonna say. I was like, probably like a Greek mythology book, because I love those.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people get a lot of story ideas from those. So that's
I think that would be a good one. Or, really, it could be. I like history, but it could be really any histories. Have you guys ever read The Prince?
No.
A Machiavellian, The Prince?
No. I
No,
haven't.
I know basically about it. My dad was telling me about it recently.
That's a really good one. People will think, oh, she's evil because she said that, but it would you would get a lot of good ideas from, and that's not, that's Western European political strategy. So something like that, or really any culture, like Greek historical. I prefer ancient culture, so Greek mythology would be good. Really any. I'm not picky. I'll take any.
For Christmas, I got this book called Star Stories. That's the stories of all the constellations, and the pictures in it are gorgeous. That would be a good one to take. I'm thinking about writing a short story based off one of those.
That would be cool.
Are they fables or?
Yeah.
Who, like, what fables? Like, what culture fables?
I don't know. I haven't read it. But, like, it talks about, like Ursa Major's the bear. So it talks about the bear. And I would show it to you, but it's downstairs.
You guys can't see it. No. I just love how none of us are like, let's get a nonfiction book that's going to get us off the island.
That did cross my mind.
Like,
I actually was thinking maybe a survivalist book, but then I forgot about that.
Oh my gosh, it just proves that we're such writers. Like, that's where our mind goes instead of being like practical and getting off the island.
What's the book with Tom Hanks and Wilson, the volleyball?
The Castaway.
Yes. So how he got ice skates and like a dress that he made like a fishing net and could cut things.
Yeah.
And one of my friends, after she watched that, was like, I don't think memes were even a thing back then, but she's like, I think you'd find me dead on the beach wearing a dress and ice skates.
That's funny. Oh my gosh, that's great.
Yeah, that's kind of where we are. I think we're gonna be dead with our faces.
Because we're more worried about entertaining ourselves than staying alive.
Oh my gosh. I do feel like that we've read enough of maybe magical books, but still a lot of survivor stories and a lot of people like good thinking and stuff, that if we were in a situation, I think we would probably pick up some of those things we learned from our favorite heroines and heroes and stuff from books. We wouldn't just...
Look, I've watched a lot of episodes of Naked and Afraid.
So. There you go.
We watch a lot of Bear Grylls.
Oh yeah, that one too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I love that though. I wonder what the listeners would say. You guys should tell us what's the one book that you would bring, fiction and nonfiction, if you were on an island for like 3 months. We'll just go 3 months to make it easier for them.
And I'm bringing Brandon Sanderson.
There you go. I love it. Well, that was fun. I like that a lot. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that as well, because I really like these question of the days episodes, because it's just like fun for me to see how our minds work,
what's interesting is we were asking a lot of the same questions, like, could we do this and what about that? So instead of just
like rules,
none of us came up with an exact, like, none of us were like, here's our answer. We were like, well, tell us, we need more information.
Yep. We're what if people.
Yeah. I think it's a writer's brain thing for sure, because we have to, because if we were writing a character who was stuck in an island, what are the questions we would ask? Like, how long? Like, what do we have? Like, those are all the questions we would kind of ask.
I don't know. I just feel better that I'm not the only one who's like, well, let me ask 50 questions first.
That's how I am on personality tests too. You'll ever take a personality test and there's a question, I'm like, but what if?
Yeah.
What about this time? And like...
That's really, which is why your personality quiz always comes out to like different thing, right?
Yeah, it's also my personality, I've come to realize. I'm a 9 on the Enneagram, which means I'm like, I fit multiple.
Yes.
So that's part of
Is that the peacemaker?
I don't know. Maybe. Probably, yeah.
Maybe. We should have a whole episode where we just do that, because that would be fun. Maybe one of our mini episodes can concentrate on that, because we're doing those now, which is fun. I'm excited. Okay, anyway, before we keep talking about this, let's talk about the next episode. And we're going to dive into another one of the trope discussions that we love so much. For those of you who are new, this is how it works. Each of us will pick a different book to read this week, all following the same theme. And if you follow us on Instagram, which you totally should, you can leave your guesses under this week's post to see what it is based on the books that we mentioned. So, Joanna, what are you reading for next week?
I'm reading The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins.
Fun. I haven't read that, so that's going to be fun. I don't think I've read any of these books, actually, so that's going to be a really fun conversation. Kristin, what about you?
I'm going to read The Thief's Daughter by Jeff Wheeler, and that's actually the second book. Speaking of, what book we would bring in the series. That's the second book in the series, the King Fountain series.
Nice. Okay, Stacey, what about you?
I'm going to read Not Even Bones by Rebecca Schaefer.
Okay, and I'll be reading And I Darken by Kirsten White. So maybe this trope is also a little bit obvious because I feel like our last one was obvious, and I feel like this one
is easily guessable.
Yeah. So hopefully you guys can guess it, and I'm excited to talk about it because I think we have strong feelings about this one too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we do.
Yes. So it's going to be fun. Hope you guys come back for next episode. But yeah, make sure to follow us on Instagram at Reading Queens Pod and participate in just, questions we ask and stuff like that. We'll be doing more takeovers and bookish stuff and other things coming up. So just be on the lookout for that. But thank you for listening to The Reading Queens. Before you go, please take a moment to leave us a review and follow us on your favorite podcast platform. We greatly appreciate it, and we really love making these shows or episodes for you, so we want to keep doing it. But yeah, then stay tuned for next week, and happy reading.
Bye. Thank you.